Today I'm going to put on the timing cover, then I can flip the engine, put on the oil pan, and then I can flip it back and go ahead and install the cylinder head, the lifters, the rods, all that stuff. So this gasket needs to go into the timing cover with this piece facing out. I don't have a paper gasket, so I just put on a thick coating of RTV and I'll let it skin over before I torque it down. Now I can flip the engine and install the oil pan gasket. So my oil pan gasket is 4 pieces. I put down RTV first and then I'll put on the cork, and there's rubber ends. So this one doesn't need to set up as long because I have the cork and the rubber gaskets. I also installed a new oil pump. I'm just going to try and set the oil pan on gently enough as to not disturb the gasket. With the gasket in place, I'm going to grab a few screws and make sure that everything's lined up. So I'm starting out in the corners, and then I'm not tightening them yet, but I just want to make sure that I center the pan and line all the screws up accordingly so I don't mess up anything in the gasket. With that out of the way, I can turn the engine over and put down the head cylinder gasket. This is a high temperature area, and so it doesn't require RTV. It's actually sticky, and all I'm going to do is drop a couple screwdrivers into a couple bolt holes to make it easier to line up. Along the build, people have kept saying, hey, you should have cleaned that or you should have oiled that. But rest assured, if I should have, I did. And there's break-in oil in the top of those piston holes, and I just cleaned down the head before installing it. Oh, that didn't work. Well, that's why. I'm not sure how heavy this thing is, but it's pretty heavy. Something's off. The cylinder head wasn't perfectly lined up on the gasket at first, but with just a few little adjustments, it worked out. So this is a 77 engine, and the 77 comes with an integrated head, which means you can't put on a new upgraded intake or heads. So I switched it out. I needed another head anyway. Mine was cracked. So I got a 73 cylinder head, which can take an upgraded intake. I've got a Clifford intake on the way, and I will get some nice headers. And the problem is 5 of the bolts are longer for that original manifold, so I had to order some new bolts, and some of these won't fit. There's 5 that will not fit. I did have a paper gasket for the water pump. I'm going to put engine assembly lube on all of the lifters, and rods and rockers as I install them. Of course, the new oil pump will do a great job of saturating the engine in oil after startup, but because the engine wasn't pre-lubed, you know, that's what the assembly lube is for, so that all of these different new components are lubed up a little bit in preparation for the initial startup. So there's a channel in the cylinder head that goes into the engine block on top of the lifters, and so you just got to place each one of these push rods all the way down the way, and as I go down I'll make sure to add assembly lube on top of the lifters and down the channel that allows the push rod to go down. There will be some on top of the rod where the rocker meets, and as well as on top of the valves. The cylinder head is new and the nuts are a tight fit, so I went ahead and lubed all of the bolts for the rocker arms. And more assembly lube anywhere that there would be friction. So I busted a bolt off in the oil pan, so I had to order some more oil pan bolts, and then 5 of the bolts in the cylinder head are too long, so I had to order those. And when I get all of that in, I'll go ahead and adjust all of the lifters and whatnot. I'm getting real close to installing this in my 77 Bonanza, and if you want to follow along from the beginning, I'll put a playlist right here.